Shifting focus now to the first wide-angle story on India Ascents. Prime Minister Modi happens to be one of the few, possibly the only leader in the world who can tell Russian President Putin that the war with Ukraine must end because innocent children are dying. He was in Moscow for his first bilateral summit in his third term. Now, Putin may be courting many countries, but he can count only few as a friend, and Prime Minister Modi happens to be one of them. And there's every reason why Moscow wants to be in New Delhi's good books. For one, there's the economic lifeline that India's oil purchases have given to Moscow. It's allowed it to run its economy, which is hit by American sanctions. India's $66 billion bilateral trade is a key part of Moscow's economy. Much of it is actually India's crude oil purchase. Why does it matter? Well, what is the war machine of Russia like? On an average, Russian army fires about 7,500 to 8,000 rounds every day, and the cost of this is about $3,500 to $4,000. That's the cost, daily cost of this war for the Russians. So it costs them about anywhere between 26 to as much as $32 million. So Putin needs that bilateral trade, which is at $66 billion and growing. Yes, it is less than some of the other countries like China, but by no account does it mean that Putin doesn't need this for his economic reasons and his war machine to continue. But there's another reason. Most importantly, Putin needs to show he's not a global pariah. He has friends. And who better than the leader of the world's largest democracy? Listen in to what Prime Minister Modi and President Putin said when they met in Moscow.
यह भारत और रूस की सदियों पुरानी गहरी मित्रता और आपसी विश्वास का सम्मान है। यह हमारी स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का सम्मान है।
Находясь уже 10 лет во главе правительства Индии, вы реально способствовали тому, чтобы российско-индийские отношения приобрели характер особо привилегированного стратегического партнерства. При вашей непосредственной поддержке успешно реализуются крупнейшие российско-индийские проекты в торгово-экономической и военно-технической сферах, в атомной и углеводородной энергетике, в области высоких технологий и космоса.
For Putin, closer ties with India could be a leverage to ensure its relationship with China does not become uneven. China is growing, Russia is not. But for Putin, this economic asymmetry should not translate into geopolitical disadvantage. Enter India. China has increased its presence in eastern Russia. In fact, there are in the far east of Russian territory, there is major demographic change that is taking place. Large influx of Chinese migrants is happening. And add to this the much slowing Russian economy that's been affected by the long-drawn conflict in Ukraine. And the war with Ukraine has brought China and Russia together, but it's a marriage of compulsions and it may run its course, which is why I feel, unlike some of the other skeptics, Russia will not undermine its strategic interests by taking sides in the Galwan border conflict between India and China. As many Russian scholars insist on vigilant amicability when it comes to Moscow's ties with China, which means keep your guard up. It is India that is your long-term partner, not China. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin meeting was bad optics for America. The visit came on a day when US and its allies were busy making a 75-year-old NATO relevant for a 21st century world order.